chaotic scene, evidently the result of a giveaway organized by a popular YouTuber. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shirley Champ.
And I'm John Muller. This all started right around 3 p.m. Thousands gathered in Union Square, about 2,000, mostly youngsters, and they were responding to a YouTuber doing a live stream and allegedly giving away video games, PlayStations 5. Well, it quickly inexplicably escalated into beer bottles being thrown, cops being pelted, rampages, people stampeding and knocking each other down, construction sites being overturned and thrown around. The subway had to be shut down. We're talking 2,000 people who went from peaceful to chaotic in really the blink of an eye.
And look at all of these, mostly young people, a lot of teenagers we're hearing. They're even standing on top of the Union Square subway platform there, the roof of that hood that goes down to the subway station. And they're also just congregating all over Union Square. If you're familiar with this area, Union Square is a very big area. There's Union Square East, West, North, South, and they are in all areas. We have multiple crews that are on the way. Our McGee Hickey has been providing us live reports. She's telling us that there are 2,000 people that gather there, and now we're seeing NYPD officers that are lining up, forming a sort of a line to block any more of these people from moving around in that area.
A lot of the crowd has dispersed from the streets. The police have used a strategy where they've sort of herded them back into Union Square. The crowd is significantly smaller than the 2,000 plus we saw a few hours ago, but it is still a very fluid and very chaotic situation. To give you a little bit more information, there is an influencer, someone who's very popular on YouTube with gamers. His name is Kai Cenat, and apparently he was live streaming a giveaway on a platform called Twitch. Now, this is a platform that is very popular with gamers right now, and as this live stream happened, the crowd worked themselves up. They're being investigated right now what really caused this, but we do know that that influencer Kai Cenat has been removed from the scene. He left in an SUV, and we know there's been arrests, people being arrested for being chaotic, put on a city bus, taken out by the NYPD. Right now it's a delicate balance. The NYPD wants to disperse this crowd, but they want to do it in a tactful, gentle way that doesn't make it any worse. It hasn't been completely gentle because there have been arrests, probably a dozen or more have been arrested, but they want this crowd to really disperse on their own.
And as often the case these days, this spread through social media. Do we have that flyer up? We want to show people the flyer that was posted to social media that encouraged people to come to this giveaway, and that, as you can imagine, drew thousands, and they did show up here. Union Square, this is of course also a stone's throw from NYU. There are a lot of students. It is the summertime, but a lot of teenagers, a lot of young people, they're congregating here. You can see this huge police presence, and here's that flyer we're talking about that spread on social media that got so many people out to Union Square this afternoon, erupting in this chaos.
Yeah, how did it get so out of hand? We're going to have to wait and see how this investigation plays out. Did the city and police know about this beforehand? Certainly the gamers did. They came out en masse. Did the city know about it? That remains to be seen. The big priority right now, trying to get these people to disperse and disperse peacefully. That is easier said than done right now. Reports of the subway underneath Union Square, that station, the trains being stopped. So it's hard to get people out of that area when you don't have access to subways. The streets were clogged with these chaotic youngsters for a long, long time. Now it seems a lot have dispersed and others have been pushed sort of back into Union Square Park as a strategy to at least get them off the streets.
Yeah, you see a lot of these NYPD officers forming a line, almost a human blockade, to try to get things under control here. It's also a very residential area. There are a lot of apartment buildings there, and we are, of course, at the height of the rush hour. So if you are traveling through Union Square, it is best to avoid that area.
We talked to some people on the air a little while ago. They called in, and one mother brought her children down from the Bronx. She talked about the stampede of the crowd, and people were knocked down. People were bloody on their knees and their hands and their elbows. It's really quite a scary situation that appears to be getting better by the minute, but let's hope that happens. It was just a few minutes ago. There was still some bottle throwing at police officers. So again, hopefully get this crowd to disperse and get peace again in the Union Square area.
Again, this YouTuber's name is Kai Sanat. Of course, I'm not of that demographic, so I'm not real familiar with him, but we understand he is quite popular with the young people these days, and all of this started with this platform called Twitch. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's a platform that is very, very popular with gamers, and it's used to live stream not just games, but also, I'm told, again, I'm not very familiar with it either, but the young people I've talked to say it's very popular with the gamers for live streaming. We see police right now in the park in this live picture with batons in their hand. We see mostly peaceful people walking around. Right now, we're not seeing any bottle throwing. Let's see what's going on there. People still jumping up on cars, jumping up on construction sites. That's what we have right now.
Okay, I understand that we have a law enforcement expert who can join us by phone, John Cutter. He's a former deputy chief with the NYPD. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
And, sir, what is the first step here for the NYPD to get this under control?
I think, as you guys reported already, they're trying to push whatever crowd they can either back into the park or out of the area through specific routes so that you start to close off part of the city and the area so that everybody can't just go wherever they want. And they seem to be doing it fairly successfully. It sounds like there was no permit issued for this event to the gamer. Whether or not the police department knew about it ahead of time, they probably did not. If there was no permit requested, it's probably something that jumped up, even though it's on social media. Not all social media is monitored by the police department. So I think, considering how quickly this evolved, I think their response is excellent, and I think they're helping to diffuse it as quickly as possible. But when you have that many people, it's going to take some time.
That's right, John. You're obviously watching pictures along with us. When you watch the pictures, these are earlier pictures. It seems like the emotion, the unruly level has gone down a bit. It also seems like there's been some dissipation in that crowd. Are you getting the same feeling?
No, absolutely. And I think part of the problem, I had said it earlier, was everybody was coming there for a giveaway. Clearly, they weren't going to give away 2,000 PlayStations or Switches or whatever they were giving away. So you're going to have a lot of disgruntled people, a lot of people who are not happy that they're not getting something, and it's just creating that bit of chaos where all it takes is a little bit of spark to ignite something like this.
And as many people that have dispersed, we're looking at live pictures right now, and this is quite alarming. There's still so many people that are there in Union Square Park here. How you mentioned that the police don't always monitor social media activity. In something like this, what would have been the level of monitoring to know that something like this may have been about to happen, and certainly not to the extent of how many people would have shown up?
Right. Well, again, because there are so many different people out on social media platforms, it's difficult to say how they would have known about this unless somebody had sent in the flyer to them and say, hey, this is going to happen, or they did request a permit for this event. If they requested a permit for this event, it would have been handled a lot differently. They would have limited the crowd size getting into the event. And at this point now, when you're looking at what's going on, now it's a game. To the people that are remaining there, now it's a game of cat and mouse. The police are going to push us one way. Well, we're going to run and try and get to another spot. We want to be the last people in the park before this is all over, because to them, it's a game, and it's a game that doesn't have any consequence because they know even if they get arrested, they're going to get right out.
Yeah, John, you took the words right out of our mouths. As you were speaking, we saw a group of officers walking. They didn't look too heavy-handed. They didn't have batons in their hands. We saw a bunch of youngsters, and then we saw them all run away in mass, and it almost looked like they are enjoying themselves, and that is, in fact, a game of cat and mouse. How patient do you imagine the NYPD to be in this case? Will they eventually lose their patience, or are they just going to wait it out?
No, the NYPD is one of the most professional departments in the world, no matter what anybody says about isolated incidents. And they're going to continue to do what they're doing. They're going to go about this methodically. They're going to start to push people into certain areas, and then people are going to start to fall off. They're going to leave on their own because they're like, all right, I've had enough fun. I'm going to leave now. And then it's going to come down to the small handful of instigators who are really looking to cause problems, want to start trouble. And once it gets down to that, then people will start to get arrested, and they'll end up, getting put into a bus and taken down to court and be released within 24 hours.
And to that point, John, clearly there are disorderly conduct charges, but what are some of the other charges the participants might be facing here, and the YouTuber who is at the center of all of this?
Well, you have reckless endangerment. You have potentially assault. I've seen a number of bottles thrown. Even one of your reporters said she got hit in the side of the head with a Coke bottle. When people get in crowds like this, they'll do stuff like that. They'll throw bottles. They'll pick up anything they can find. Thankfully, we haven't heard of any serious assaults where, there's plenty of stones and rocks and things in that park that people could pick up and throw and seriously hurt people. And as you can see, there's people who would get up on top of the platforms there and on top of the buildings and think like, oh, yeah, we're going to dance and have fun. But at some point, somebody could get seriously hurt. So you're looking at reckless endangerment, possibly assaults. This guy, Kai, may be looking at, inciting riot. It's very possible. I saw some of the earlier videos where he's in the car and he's splashing everybody with champagne while they were already acting up. At a certain point, common sense has to dictate, all right, let me pull it back a little. But for them, this is a big win to be on social media. Oh, look at this crowd. They love me. They went crazy for me. It's a problem.
People like me and Shirley know his name now, to your point.
I didn't before.
John Cutter, former NYPD chief, we really appreciate your perspectives. We'd love you if you have time to hang around. We want to get to some of our reporters on the ground, but if you can stick around, hopefully we can check back with you in a little bit.